Hello, my name is Yadav Jalal Hyler, and this is the very first, the the primordial, fledgling, virginal first entry in the manhood blogs. I'm very interested in talking about manhood. I'm very interested in exploring it. I feel like it is this endless soil to be churned through and to be seeded and grown and tilled and left to its own devices and seeded and grown and tilled again. Um, we can't have enough conversations about manhood, as we all know, because right now, where the earth is, uh, it's in so much pain and strife in so many ways. And also joy and love and laughter, but we all know there's a lot of pain. And so much of it, at its root, is about the extreme wounds that our definitions of manhood have caused. The ways that we try to be men, and in trying to be men, kill and cut and burn and slash ourselves and of course others, especially femininity, especially queerness, especially softness and gentleness and the pure love vibration. And so that's why I'm interested in starting these blogs. And this very first entry is going to be called Let's Fuck, or I really am only interested in soft, gentle lovemaking, but you think that's corny. That's the title. Let's Fuck, or I'm really only interested in soft, gentle lovemaking, but you think that's corny. And I know that you might not think that's corny, but the you in my head that I'm worried about, that I get anxiety about when I'm wanting to lay down with someone, tells me that I'm supposed to want to fuck. I'm supposed to just sex. I'm supposed to be a man. Be a man. And sometimes I feel like that. Sometimes I do want to just, rah, just swag, sauce, dripping. But a lot of times, what I want more is to, sometimes I just want to be inside the pussy and just stay there and not move and just commune and dance with each other and really just vibe out each other and just love, love, and not be so concerned with urgency and a time limit and the ticking clock that says, like, we have to come, bust, nut, like we have to do something. Why can't we just vibe and be? And yeah, so let's just get down to it. Basically, I've spent most of my entire sexual life having sex because I'm supposed to. I've had a good amount of sex. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. I've had sex with a lot of people, and that's not bragging. It just is. And the truth of it is that most of the sex I've had has not been good. Not because it wasn't good, like not because it wasn't fun or pleasurable, but because that's not really where I was at, and I was kind of forcing myself or jump-starting that engine and putting myself there because it's what I thought was supposed to happen. Doing it because we're supposed to, as opposed to because it's really the vibe right now in this moment. And usually it's not even like if I don't feel like sexing yet, that I want to wait for months. It's more like I just want to wait an hour sometimes, a day, maybe even just minutes until that full exhale comes and the giggles and the goofiness comes first. I want to be with you, the prospective lover, you know, in a way where nothing could take us out of the vibe, where there's nothing we can't say and there's nothing we have to say, where there's nothing we can't do and nothing we have to do, where we don't have to like not fart because that's not sexy, or hold our body in a certain way. The feeling of like holding in your gut, you know? I don't know if anybody else has a belly. I got a belly. Got this belly. and I got issues with it, you know what I mean? I'm learning to love it, but it's a long journey. And I don't think it's the prettiest thing most of the time. And so I have a lot of history. Like I'm sure most people who have a belly or have some gut fat know what it's like to hold that gut in and to feel cramped and uncomfortable because you're trying to hold the gut in to look good. But the truth of the matter is you usually don't look good because you look all cramped in. And it's like, you remember in Men in Black, that fucking thing, the guy, the cockroach guy who was like in the, how are you doing? Like the weird ass nigga who was just like stuck in that body that he didn't belong in. That's what it feels like for me when I feel like I have to hold my gut in. And the funny thing is no one else is telling me to do that. I'm telling me to do that. I'm telling myself that it'll be ugly if I don't. That I can't really exhale. That I can't feel gassy and still be sexy. That I can't feel tired and still be sexy. That I can't feel unaroused and still be sensual and here and present and worth your time. And also, the hard part about that is that a lot of times it's in certain ways it's true because of all the different stigma and trauma and just opinions that we have about what sex is supposed to mean, what connection and relationship is supposed to mean. We very often have a time limit with each other, whether we want it or not, whether each of us individually wants that. Very often, once sex is a question in the air, like, oh, are we going to have sex? I like you, you like me, we're attracted to each other. Like, are we going to have sex? But before we have, I feel like there's this time limit that sets itself up over here. And we're just watching it side-eyed the whole time. Like, when are we going to have sex? When are we going to have sex? And it causes so much discomfort and awkwardness. There's nothing wrong with awkwardness, but this kind of awkwardness is like the denial of truth to me. And sorry, I'm such a scatterbrain. But basically, I'm really interested in how it is that as people, we can feel our own sexuality, feel sensual without being like wishy-washy, hippie, oh, let's just touch and like, patchouli, like fuck that shit. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how do we be real enough that if you want to have sex and I don't, I as a man can be like, I don't want to have sex right now, but that doesn't mean I don't think you're attractive. That doesn't mean I don't want to be right next to you and that I'm wishing I was in a different room. That I'm wishing I wasn't next to you or that you were somebody else or that something's wrong with you. It literally just means like, I don't feel like having sex right now. And why is there anything wrong with that? I'll feel like having sex when I do. And in the same exact way, if I want to have sex and you don't want to have sex, me knowing and practicing the reminding knowledge that that doesn't mean I'm bad or that I'm unworthy of sex and sexuality and love and worthiness. It means that You just don't want to have sex right now. And shit, maybe even it means that you don't find me attractive, in which case the realest thing to do would not be to pretend that you do, or cater to my need to feel attractive. Like, fuck that. I don't want that. That's not even really pleasurable. It's like scary and creepy and it gives me the willies. Like I don't want it if you don't want it. And I don't want to feel as though I have to want it just because I'm a man and I'm supposed to be this push button start engine that like, oh, sex is on the table, so blomp. You know what I mean? Like that's not how my penis even works. Like if I'm not feeling it, that shit ain't getting up. Like if I'm not in a space where I feel really connected with you, it's not gonna happen for me. And I have made it happen before. I've jump started that engine and forced it, and that's the bad sex I'm talking about. That's the sex where it's like, even if it feels good, even if I felt sexy in certain ways from like an outside, like knowing, oh, I look like a porno right now, you know what I mean? I look good or whatever. Like it doesn't feel good because it doesn't feel real. It feels like an act, a performance. And also that doesn't mean, when I say like feeling deeply connected, it doesn't mean it has to be hella, like we have to be deeply in love with each other and on a course for marriage and babies. It could be a fucking one night stand. It could be a fling. But I've had a lot of flings, and most of the time flings, there's this like desperation with flings where you're just like throwing your bodies at each other, and it really feels like two people masturbating with the other body as a sex toy. And I've also had flings where that happened, but in a way that was completely agreed and felt and wanted, and we were acknowledging that we were just on some ratchet shit and like being wholesomely ratchet. Like, yeah, fuck it, let's wild out for tonight. Let's go wild for tonight. You know what I mean? And those have been rare experiences, but they have happened. I have experienced them, so I know they can happen. So it doesn't have to be a committed, deep, we're going to be with each other forever for me to get the connection that I'm talking about. It more just has to be like, we're both here right now. My awareness is not caught in my leftward gut, and I'm not over here pretending that I'm fully just in the sex mode, as opposed to maybe I feel uncomfortable or discomfort, and you're not pretending arousal, when sometimes you might be both aroused and also unaroused at the same time. And sometimes that can be good and that can be fine, and sometimes that can be an invitation to pause, slow down, and just breathe. And basically what I'm saying is, like, that's what the title is about. Let's fuck, or I'm only really interested in love making, gentle, soft love making, but you think that's corny. That's what that title is really about, is that I don't agree with pretending arousal. I think that shit is the saddest, loneliest thing I can think of. And it really all boils down to this massive, very old wound that we as a species are carrying on and haven't yet been able to really even address, let alone get to the healing of, which is the wound of the attack on the mother, the attack on feminine energy, and this idea that boys will be boys, and that we just want to fight and fuck, and that women are supposed to just lay down and siphon off some of our more aggressive energies with a pussy so that we cannot be beasts or something. I don't know, like turn us into that whole like dynamic of like, oh, a good woman can turn a beast into a man. Like, that's weird and wrong for me. And I think that really what it boils down to is we need to be listening to each other. And I'm only really interested in listening to each other. I'm only interested in being listened to and listening to you. Like, I don't want you to ever feel like you can't tell me that you don't want to have sex, or that you can't tell me you do want to have sex. I don't want to feel like, I don't want you to feel like that, and I don't want to feel that. I want it to be on the table of like, hey, I like you, or I love you, or I'm hella attracted to you, or I'm kind of attracted to you and I don't really know what it means. Like, I want all that shit to be allowed. Or I'm not attracted to you. That should be allowed. You should be allowed to say to somebody, I'm not attracted to you, and they should have the resource and wealth of knowledge to know that that doesn't mean they are not worthy of attraction. It just means this person is not attracted to you, whether it's right now or forever. And that doesn't mean anything. Like, we don't own each other, and we shouldn't. And there's no reason anyone is owed sex or arousal. Fuck that. You don't owe me no arousal. You don't owe me sex. I don't ever want to be owed sex. And I do not want to owe anybody sex. And on the manhood side, it's really interesting because I think that most men are trained and taught from very early age, from little, tiny, gentle boys, to be these harder, more aggressive, raw, brawn, sweat, raw, balls, to be taught to be these like creatures of bestial nature who like just need to fuck and just need to get those urges out and shit. And so when I say I don't want to feel as though I owe sex to somebody, I don't think that's often something most of the women I've been with have not felt like I owe them sex. That's something that comes from within me, from that older dude at the bus stop who tried to tell me what sex should be like and how I control somebody. And that's some shit that, like, if you a young man, especially if you a young black or brown man, especially if you're from an area that's hooded, an urban area where there's a lot of ancient trauma at play, you get at the bus or at school or somewhere, you get some old motherfucker being like, hey, look, let me tell you something. This is how you control a bitch mind. And that shit is this poison that we pass down generationally. And it gets in our heads. Because I wasn't raised like that. My mom didn't raise me like that. And I don't even think in the term like bitch for women. You know what I mean? And I don't want to control a bitch mind. I have noticed that sounds terrifying. That sounds like cutting my own humanity out and like throwing that shit to the side, burning it or something. And so it's like, it's not even you, the perspective you. It's not even you that's telling me I owe you sex. It's me telling me I owe you sex. And that shit is terrible. And then with women, the whole world trains you that you owe us sex. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And we as men quite often are happier not rocking that boat, not disturbing those waters. I mean, like, well, shit, I do want sex, so if she feel like she owe me some sex, hey, who am I to say no? You know what I mean? That's some bullshit. That's some weak, cowardly, sad, lonely sack of shit. And I don't want that. I don't even want to want that. And when I have wanted it, or if I ever again do want it, I don't agree with that. Fuck that. I don't deserve that want. Deserve is not even the right word. No one, that's not really want. That's pain. That's suffering. That's trauma. That's trying to mask something I don't want to look at with a pleasurable distraction. I'm not interested in pleasurable distractions. I'm interested in dance and light and music and art and this. Heart. I'm interested in us being hearts with eyeballs and arms and legs and feet and hands, walking around and touching other hearts. And, oh, hey, we two hearts, we get along together. We two hearts, we're not really for each other. I'm interested in that freedom of like, no one should fucking have to be anything that they're not. And that sounds so simple, but it's so, we've made it so complicated. We've made it so hard to walk around and just be who we are. We've made that the hardest thing in existence. And it's sad. And it's tired. And it's old. It's like an old white man's balls. Who the fuck wants to see that? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. After just saying no one should have to be what they're not. I'm sorry, old white man with your old white balls. You deserve love too. I'm just saying, like, no, like, that shit is old. That's an old paradigm. And it's been done. It was tired from the motherfucking moment that shit got born. That shit was already like, old nigga, can you get the fuck out of here? Like, I'm sorry. I said, even though this is a very, like, I think of it as a very old patriarchal white European mode and methodology. And I called it a nigga, but that's just some, you know what I mean? So I meant that term philosophically. As in, ill, old, ignorant motherfucker. Like, take that shit the fuck elsewhere. Burn that shit. If anything needs to be burned and purified by fire, it is this idea that anybody owes us anything. That anybody is beholden to us and must give us themselves because we deserve it. Or that we owe anybody anything, and that we have to give our love or just body to anyone else. And of course we owe each other. We owe it to each other to not shit in our water. We owe it to each other to not frack the fucking earth. We owe it to each other to not wage war and rape and murder and pillage. We owe it to each other to actually love ourselves and therefore everyone else. But we don't owe a motherfucker our body, and we never should. And as men, we are the motherfucking main aggressors, the main carrier honors of that ancient trauma, that ancient, disgusting, polluted pattern. We are the main proliferators of that shit. We're the main ones making that shit a cycle that continuously will not die, but it needs to die. It's dead already. It is a thing that has been dead inside. It is a zombified carcass walking around trying to eat other motherfuckers' brains and hearts and souls. And fuck that. Let it die. Let us offer that old, tired definition of love and romance and light and sex up to the fire, and let us let that shit be burned the fuck away. Because it's done. It's done. It's been done. It was never real. It was only ever a very, very addictive lie. Like the devil. You know, I said the devil is a lie, and the greatest lie the devil ever told was that he existed. There is no fucking devil. That ain't even the real fucking name. The real name is Pan. If we're talking about Christianity and what we've called Satan, and Pan ain't fucking evil. Pan is pure chaos. That's not evil or good. It's chaotic neutral. Really, it's just fucking endless possibility, basically. And so that definition of manhood, that definition of sex and sexuality is a fucking lie. It's not real. It never was. And we need to wake up to it. And this video is not for women. This video is not for gender queers and those who are most attacked by this destructive, tired, old, dead-ass definition of manhood and sexuality. This video is for us. Me. Men. This is for men. We need to be stronger. We need to be growner. We need to grow the fuck up and stop thinking that we are owed sex or that we owe sex to a moment because it'll make our dick better, because it'll make us more worthy a man, because then all our dreams and fantasies are something that actually we do deserve. You deserve your dreams and fantasies, your life and light, without none of that shit. You could be a fucking eunuch and you still are owed all the light and love and sexuality. You could be an asexual person and you are still owed all the light and love and sexuality. Sexuality does not mean sex. Sex is a part of sexuality. Sexuality is motherfucking life. Everything is sex. Everything is sexual. Literally, cells literally are in a constant state of sex and ingestion, digestion, and letting go of waste all at once. And that's how life works. Plants are literally eating and fucking light, like, and each other. And it's all sex. Dance is sex. Life is sex. Art is sex. It's all sex, but not in that definition we keep of like just this. That shit has its place and it's not inherently bad. But if we think that's the only thing, we're in deep trouble. And we have been for a long time. And I'm going to stop talking. I love you. I love you. I love me, which is something that is I've not been able to say for most of my life and that we don't say often enough. And I am going to be striving to stay in my heart and in that vibration and to love myself so that I can love you without any strings attached, without you owing me anything, without us ever even having to talk. I love you, and you should love you, and I hope the fuck that you get there, and I hope I do too. And that's it. Love and light. Love, peace, and yam grease. My brother always makes fun of me because I say love, peace, and yam grease, and he's like, yams don't got grease, but they got yam sap, all right? Love, peace, and yam sap, motherfuckers. I love you. Peace.